Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Cathy Watchcast. We'll see if that name sticks around, but we are here to talk about the first episode, 2 episodes of the Lord of the Rings of Power TV show that just aired or showed up on Amazon Prime Friday night. It is Sunday morning. Do you remember that show, Cathy Brown?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened in that show? Okay, so what were you saying before you were rudely interrupted by Biscuit?
I was saying I do remember.
You do remember the show?
Yeah.
Even though it was 48 hours ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, lucky for us, I got some synopses pulled up. 2 different ones, as a matter of fact, just so we can remember. And a lot of the stuff, I'll say right off the bat, getting the names of some of these characters was hard.
Yeah.
The dark-skinned elf. I didn't know his name until today when I looked it up, and I still don't know. I still can't remember it. I have to read it again. But we'll get to that. What'd you think about the name situation?
Yeah, I had a really hard time gathering people's names. I don't know how important that is. I'm sure over time it would stick. I feel this way with a lot of TV shows, actually.
Especially with Lord of the Rings, it's like you're not dealing with like Frank and Steve. You're dealing with Elrond and Galadriel and
It's like harder names.
Ufus or something.
I've been watching an anime called Fruits Basket, and it took me, the whole first season for the names to start sticking. But I guess the most important thing is that you recognize the characters and their stories anyway.
Yeah,
and the names
characters are recognizable. Mm-hmm. And I think they're all good characters. The only ones I can really remember were Galadriel and Elrond and the people who were actually in the Lord of the Rings books and movies. Because this, as far as I know, this is all stuff that J.R. Tolkien didn't write about. This is all kind of new.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's about it's seemingly going to be about the formation of the rings that we see at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings books and the movies, where there are 9 given to the men, kings of men, 7 to the dwarves, 3 to the elves, and the 1 ring to rule them all, which is Sauron's ring, which is what the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy circles around. Do you remember that?
I don't really remember the whole ring situation in the Lord of the Rings movies. All I remember is the 1 ring that Frodo had.
It's because the other rings are basically destroyed by the time the book starts, I think.
Oh, well.
And the 1 ring is it's weird. It's hard to talk about because it's like, but it's weird because the 1 ring is like, oh, this is this mega powerful ring, but all it really seems to do is make you invisible.
Yeah.
Strange. Anyway, let's get into the first episode.
Okay.
So we start off with a flashback. Do you remember that? It's a flashback. We're in the undying lands of the elves, off to the west, I believe, to the west. Mm-hmm.
Lots of death and destruction. Lots of death and destruction.
Well, not at first. We see young Galadriel. She has built a little sailboat.
Oh, yeah.
Little paper sailboat, and she sends it down the river with other sailboats. I guess they're racing.
No, it's just 1 sailboat.
No, it's other ones because the other elves start throwing rocks at hers.
But there weren't any other sailboats.
Well, maybe I'm making that up.
There was just one.
Not, the synopsis I have don't get that nitty gritty into
Oh,
detail.
okay. Well, I'm telling you, there was only 1 sailboat.
Well, if there's only 1 sailboat, the multiple elves on the riverbank start throwing rocks at it.
Yeah, because they're just mean.
Yeah, they're mean. They want it to sink, and Galadriel, little girl Galadriel, wants to beat the shit out of them. And we find her older brother, whose name is Nimrod or something. Finrod.
Okay.
That's close.
Yeah.
Finrod. He grabs her and tells us,
I didn't know that was his
you know why boats sail or rocks sink or whatever. And he whispers something to her. And then we kind of flash forward to Morgoth. Morgoth has invaded the land across the sea and is spreading evil everywhere. Him and his lieutenant Sauron. And the elves have decided to cross the sea to face him, and they end up defeating Morgoth. But not without a price. Finrod, Galadriel's older brother, dies. Mm-hmm. And we see that in the episode, she takes that very seriously.
Yeah.
I believe at one point in the show she says something along the lines of, the elves had no word for death. Because
it just didn't happen. They all live forever, yeah. Yes. And then they had multiple words for death.
Yes. So we get to the present time where Galadriel is now grown up. She is commanding her own little
group, yeah.
Little group of elves. Mm-hmm. They are still in Middle Earth. They're officially in Middle Earth. That's where Morgoth invaded. I forgot to say that. And they are looking for any remnants of Sauron and any orcs and any like evil things. Right?
Yep.
And they find themselves on a frozen mountaintop, like a big storm.
Dude, it was really stormy and really cold looking and really harsh looking.
And so they've been searching for years, and I guess her second in command is fucking fed up with it.
Yeah.
And they all kind of decide to say, fuck this, we're not listening to you anymore, we're leaving. Even though Galadriel killed a snow troll pretty badassly.
I know, man, she's such a beast.
Yeah, she's a badass. She's a badass in this show.
So impressive.
All the elves in the Lord of the Rings shows are kind of written to be badasses, or the movies at least. But, I mean, she's a badass.
Yeah. She looks all soft and sweet, but she's really a badass.
Yes. So, they leave. And I guess she has no choice but to follow them. I don't remember how she...
Yeah, I think she didn't want to, but she also probably realized she couldn't move forward on her own, so she went back to try and get another group together. They got back up there.
Yes. So they go back to, what's the area called? I can't remember the names.
Me neither. It's where the elves live.
They go back to the elves. It's basically Rivendell, but it's not Rivendell, because they flashed the names of the areas on the screen before they...
Yeah, I think they were trying to help.
Map.
Yeah, with the whole map thing, but that doesn't mean I really understood.
Yeah. So she goes back, and they meet with young Elrond, who is a character in the...
Yeah, he's like some little politician.
Yes. He
writes the king's speeches, it looked like.
Yeah, and then we also see the king a little bit later, but basically, it's kind of declared that Morgoth's traces in Middle Earth are gone. Like, we're good. We don't have to look anymore. Mm-hmm. And for Galadriel's service and her service of her fellow little army there, they're going to be sent back to the Undying Lands across the sea, which is what they will. But not Galadriel.
Yeah.
Because she knows
that he's out there somewhere.
Something's still out there. Mm-hmm. And she tells us to Elrond, and Elrond's like, no, you really should go, because this is kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. You know, you didn't find anything we find out later, 79 years, I believe, is how long they've been looking for traces of Morgoth after the Morgoth War ended, and they haven't found anything, which is like a blink of an eye to an elf, basically. But anyway, so we go from that to another area, and we meet the Harfoots. These are hobbits. They are a kind of hobbit that it says that Tolkien rarely wrote about.
They seem to migrate. They like to migrate.
Yeah, they like nomads. Mm-hmm. That's what it seemed like. And we meet young, what's her name?
Nori. I do remember her name.
Nori Brandyfoot and her friend Poppy Proudfellow.
Yeah, well, I couldn't remember her friend's name was Poppy, but I remember the name Nori. It was like one of the few names that stuck.
Who looks just like Eleven from Stranger Things.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't
look
like her.
anything like
Except
11.
she's got crazy hair.
No, she doesn't
And
look
11 has
anything.
no hair.
She looks nothing
She looks just like her.
like 11. I don't even know where you're getting that from.
I know why they cast her, because she looked just like that girl.
No.
Yes.
She doesn't look anything like her.
Well, anyway. So, a lot of the stuff dealing with them at the beginning is just kind of not important, really. Like, you see that Nori lives with her father. He seems to be some type of, not an important man in their community, but like a carpenter or something. I don't know. Like,
I don't know what he did.
it seemed like they were calling him to like fix things. That's why I guess what happens to him happens to him.
Oh yeah.
But so that we basically just meet Nori and Poppy. Don't really, just to set up, hey, they're hobbits here.
And there seems to be kind of some weird stuff going on that they're like weirded out about, like those two, I guess large to them people walking by, and like some weird stuff happening in the sky.
Yeah, Nori and Poppy and a few other
that wolf.
children hobbits. Yeah, they go to a place they're not supposed to, and they see a wolf, and they have to run back and don't tell anybody, don't tell them we went, and all this other stuff. But
yeah,
it's kind of inconsequential, really. So then we go. I guess we go to Galadriel on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very strange how the elves travel across the sea. They all just stand on the deck of the ship and look forward.
And it was very ceremonious, almost like a ritual. Like they were kind of in a straight line. They were all looking forward. They had
all
their
dressed in
armor on, and
they all took it off.
No, some other
elves they took it off for them, but then they're all wearing white gowns, basically.
Yeah, and then the lights all bright and stuff. It almost looks like they're going to heaven.
Yeah, they all start singing too.
Yeah, they
Galadriel
start
does
singing.
not sing.
No, she doesn't. And there's also something happens simultaneously. I don't think Galadriel sees it, but the hobbits do, where there's like a meteor going across the sky.
Yes, that we'll get to that in the end, because that's how the episode 1 ends.
Yeah, but this is happening at the same time.
Yes.
As this scene. And then Galadriel, man, she jumps ship.
Yeah, she jumps off the ship. You also mentioned she's carrying around her brother's dagger, his gold dagger, for just about the entirety of the show, the 2 episodes so far.
Yeah, it's also crazy to me because they've been on this little boat for a while. There ain't no land in sight, and she just jumps off.
Yeah, and starts swimming. For
and
God knows how long.
Swimming and swimming.
We can just wrap up her story now, because the way the show goes, it goes back and forth between the character story arcs. So far, there's 4. Let's meet
I'm missing one.
Let's meet our 3rd character right now. Arondir. He is the dark-skinned elf.
Oh, okay.
We see him and his compatriot, another warrior elf. They're going on a patrol around this little human village, and that's when we find out it's been 79 years, and they're just not finding anything. They've been doing this for so long, and it's just boring for them, or it's boring for the other elf. I don't know if we ever hear his name. And we also meet Bronwyn, a young human woman. Also seems some type of healer for the village or something like that.
Yeah, a little healer. She messes around with little herbs and stuff, and
it's established pretty quickly that Arondir and Bronwyn kind of have a thing for each other. I don't think it's ever spoken of. I don't know if they've had a past. I think they just...
Yeah, or maybe they haven't even admitted it to each other
yet.
They
have an infatuation with each other.
Yeah.
And Arondir and his compatriot go back to their base, their little fort there, and find out the war's over. We're going home. We're leaving. Because this article here says we're in the Southlands. here in Middle Earth. This is where they're at. So everyone's kind of far away from each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine they'll all meet up. So Arondir does not like this. And he decides to go back on his own, back to the village with the humans, and he goes to this woman's house, Brownwyn's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that Brownwyn has a son. He looks to be a teenager.
Well,
Has
maybe
the most
13 or something.
unfortunate haircut I've ever seen in my life. It is
Yeah.
bad. But she's like, "Why'd you come here?" You know, she's kind of weirded out by it. Like, they've never really done this before.
Mm-hmm.
And is this when the guy shows up with the cow?
Yeah, on the other side of the house.
Yeah, there's like a front door,
Yeah.
literally a front door and a back door.
Yeah, so I guess either Arondir shows up at the back door, or the other guy shows up. Somebody shows up at the front door, and somebody shows up at the back door.
Yes, and it is a farmer with a cow from a village somewhere else. It's a village where Brownwyn grew up, is what she says, I believe.
And the cow is not doing great.
Yeah, the cow's udders are literally shooting out black goo.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah, and Arondir does not like this. He says, where is this at? We need to go see this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe, is that where?
When Brahman goes too,
Yeah, Brahman goes too.
they leave the little boy at home.
Yes, his name is Theo.
Theo.
And Theo, on his own, goes out with one of his friends. Or is it multiple friends? I think it's just one.
I don't remember one, but there might have been multiple.
And they go to like a barn or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they know something's underneath the floorboards. I didn't quite get all this.
Yeah, I don't understand why they were there in the first place.
Yeah, and they dig it up in the floor, and they find a hilt of a sword, the blade's broken off, and Theo, the boy, picks it up, and kind of very quickly you see that the symbols of Sauron, the little fiery claw or whatever, starts to appear on the hilt of the sword. He looks like he's being under a spell, or basically just like enraptured by it, and he kind of snaps out of it, and they leave. But he keeps the sword.
Yeah, and I don't think we mentioned this, but when what's that girl's name with blonde hair?
Brownwyn?
No, with the blonde hair.
Galadriel.
Galadriel also sees that sigil when they're up in that cold mountain.
Yes, she does.
So,
That sigil makes multiple appearances.
Yeah.
I believe the king of Elrond sees it on his skin at some point, doesn't he? The king of the elves.
Oh, I think he saw it on the back of a leaf.
Yes.
As Galadriel was jumping off the ship.
Yeah, there's a lot of not flashbacks, but quick cuts between characters and stuff.
Yeah.
When stuff dramatic stuff happens. But so yes, the episode ends with the meteor falling in the Harfoot's territory, and I guess the only person who sees it is Nori.
I guess so.
Because she runs up to the crater.
And Poppy's there.
Poppy's with her too. And what's in the crater but a man, a tall man with kind of longish gray hair and a gray beard, and he's just laying there and is surrounded by fire.
Yeah, he reminds me of that guy from the Nirvana music video.
Oh, Heart-Shaped Box.
Box,
yeah. Except like that dude was like,
because he was like in some underwear. I don't know, just
that dude looked like he was about to die. This man has muscles.
Not that many muscles.
Not that many. I mean,
he's still an old man.
He doesn't look like you could push him over and he like crack in half.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So that's how that first episode ends. I was pretty I was hooked, I think, after that first episode.
Which says a lot for you, because
yeah, I don't like stuff like this, but
Andy doesn't really like TV.
I don't really watch TV, but I think what's good about this for me is that I like Lord of the Rings. I like those first three movies. I watched the first Hobbit movie but I didn't watch the other ones really. I think I've seen bits and pieces of them, but like
I don't think I've seen any of those.
those movies came out. This is a tangent, by the way. this is what I'm known for. Tangents. But those 3 Hobbit movies came out around the time of my life when there was just naked marketing happening to like here's something you like, here's more of it. Like when that's kind of happening to me, like I just completely reject it. Like I'm like, nope, don't want it. Like The Hobbit is a fucking like 80-page children's book, and you're making it 3 movies. Nah, fuck you. Like that's the way I reacted to it. So I didn't really see them. No, they might be. I mean, I did watch the first one like on like HBO or something when it showed up there, but I don't know.
Where was that? I don't remember watching that.
It's might have been just before I moved in. We moved in together.
Oh, okay.
But yes, but those first 3 movies I think are really good. So going back to kind of that era and that story and some of the same characters, I'm down with. And I know that it's not supposed to be that long, I don't think. I think it's only supposed to be a couple episodes. So that's good. And I was completely ready to hate it too. Like I was ready to be like, no, this ain't working. Because we watched that first episode of The Witcher TV show, and I was like, nope, this is not working for me at all.
I still want to go back and watch that. I've been reading The Witcher books.
Well, but like I said, I was hooked at that first episode. All the characters are, at least all the protagonists, I think are really likable. Galadriel's a badass. That Arondir's a badass. Nori seems fun. Seems like a good character. I don't know why all these hobbits have Irish accents. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know why that stuck out to me so much, but it did. Who else was I going to talk about?
You said there was a 4th story. What's the
Elrond.
4th story?
We're about to get into episode 2.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that is the 4th story.
Yeah, Elrond and the King have the fucking squarest faces I've ever seen in my life.
They are very bizarre looking.
Yeah. Now, it's bizarre looking. Have you seen the ads for the House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel? All those people are like aliens. I don't know what they did. Ugh. They look weird. So bizarre. But anyway, what do you think? First episode.
I mean, I liked it.
You'll get hooked to anything, though.
I mean, yeah, I will. I'm not as particular as you are. I've kind of been more into watching things lately. But yeah, I think I avoid it generally because I just get so sucked into it.
But what do you think of this? Like,
I mean, I liked it.
the character's
It was good, yeah. I enjoyed it.
It's okay. So, let's just say spoilers for Rings of Power. Is that what it's called? Yeah, sure. Why not? If you just watched the first episode, we're about to go into the second episode, so spoilers here. So,
We're spoiling everything anyway.
yeah, no, fuck it.
This is
Guess what? Sauron dies at the end, and they throw the ring into the lava. And did you know that at the end of that movie, when Frodo and Bilbo leave on the boat, they're going to the Undying Lands?
Mm-mm.
That's where they go. The thing we see at the place we see at on the beginning of the first episode, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
second episode starts with Galadriel in the sea, just swimming, because she has jumped off her boat and she is in the middle of the ocean by herself. And what does she come across?
She comes across a raft with some other people on it.
Well, it's a ship. It's a ship that's been destroyed, and it's just like remnants of it. And they see her, she sees them.
They're sort of freaked out by her and don't know if they can trust her.
Well, they pull her up on the boat, and one woman immediately starts giving her water so she can drink. And another guy on the ship who seems to be kind of like in charge, is like, no, we don't. No water till we get answers or whatever, like, because it's kind of weird that she just kind of swam up. And they don't know who she is because she wasn't on the boat with them. Mm-hmm. So it seems like there's going to be some dynamics there, but they are quickly that boat, that what's left of that boat, is also destroyed by looks like a sea serpent type
Like
thing.
a sea worm, and they kept calling it a worm.
Yeah, it's you basically only see its like back.
Yeah, it's like a giant fish.
Yeah, it destroys the boat, and we were left with only two, Galadriel and
I don't know his name.
it starts with an H.
It's a dude.
It's a dude. What is his name? Halbrand.
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 Okay.
He is a man with blonde hair.
Is it blonde?
Yes. It's
not as blonde as hers.
No, not as blonde as hers. No, it's like dirty blonde.
Yeah.
I bet if you washed it, it might be blonder.
His hair is brown in comparison.
Yeah, and they talked for a little bit about who he is and how he's running. His life was destroyed by the orcs, and she's like, the orcs are still here. Like, that's how she knows that she was right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's from the Southlands too. He says that.
Oh, so I wonder if he's from that village that got burnt down.
He might be, but I guess the worm comes back and attacks their even tinier raft now. And Galadriel falls in the water. She gets
pulled down.
A rope gets wrapped around her waist, and she gets pulled down. And Halbrand jumps in the water and saves her. And how he saves her is he
sees her
golden dagger in her waistband and pulls it out and cuts the rope.
Mm-hmm. And they go back up.
And they basically float. And I think that's when we learned that elves had no word for death. And she gives that little speech. And then when she gives it to Halbrand, doesn't she?
I don't know if that's when she said that or if it was earlier, but
okay.
I think that was it the worm that brought her back down, or they ran into that really bad storm.
Yes, there was a storm. I don't remember. This synopsis doesn't get
that detailed.
No.
Okay, well, that's not important, but there was a storm.
Yes, there was a storm, and then we get to back to Nori and Poppy with the man, and the man doesn't speak their language. He doesn't really speak at all, except the fireflies.
Yeah, he can speak to fireflies. That was all very bizarre.
Yeah, Nori comes back, and he now is like, I'm just saying it right here. I think it's Gandalf. I think he is what do they call Aristers? There's some name for the wizards who came down in Lord of the Rings, because there were like 4 of them. I'm gonna look it up. Ishtar, I think it's Ishtar.
Well, the thing with the fireflies is the hobbits, I guess, use these lamps, and how they light the lamps is there's fireflies in them that light it up, and then they use those as lamps to sort of find their way through the darkness. And then something happens and Poppy's breaks, and the fireflies
they fly everywhere.
Flying everywhere, and then Gandalf's talking to one of them, and then there was kind of this like fireflies are similar to the stars type thing, and then all the fireflies just die and fall.
Yeah, they all die at the same time. But
down to the ground, and it was really weird.
The wizards in the Lord of the Rings fiction are the Ishtar, and they were here to help. Even though I read a synopsis or something that said like, is that Gandalf? But according to the history, Gandalf was not. The Ishtar wasn't sent to Middle Earth until thousands of years after this. So I don't know, but there are 5 of them. I want to get their names. There's Gandalf. There's Saruman. I'm not reading all that. Radagast, who we see in the Hobbit movies. He's the only other. We see Gandalf and Saruman, and we see Radagast in the Hobbit movies. We do not see the other 2, because I guess they just go off someplace else. Anyway, yes, he uses fireflies to show off his little magic things he can do. Okay, so then we go back to Orindir and Brownwood, and they go over the crest of a hill, and they see the village where Brownwood grew up and where that guy with the cow is from is burnt to the ground, basically. And they start exploring some buildings, and they find a tunnel.
Yeah, they go into a house that I think Brownwood knew the people that lived there.
Yeah.
They see this hole in the floor, and it looks like a tunnel, and Arendir is like, okay, well, I'm gonna go in here. You should go back and warn the people, in the village that you currently live.
Well, I want to backtrack a little bit. We also missed the man makes the fireflies into constellations. Like he makes them like stars.
Yeah.
And he's kind of indicating he needs to find those constellations, but Nori says she doesn't know. She doesn't know those constellations. She don't know where that's at. And also, I believe earlier I think in episode 1, the Hobbit with the big sideburns, he has a book with like constellations in it, doesn't he? Like he has.
He's got a book with all kinds of mess in
Yeah.
it. I don't know. I really don't know what he seems to be knowing that there's some other stuff going on, but
Also, just to close out Nori's story, she's kind of supposed to be with her father at this point when she's talking to unnamed man, and her father gets called to help with something, like moving a pole or something.
I think they're getting ready for a festival or something.
I think, or they might be like trying to pack up to leave.
No, because he was trying to raise the pole
Yeah.
up off the ground, like built.
Yes, well, he like basically like slips and like completely like breaks his ankle.
Yeah, it looks nasty.
Yeah, he breaks his ankle. Nori, she's like, "It's my fault. I should have been here." He's like, "No, it's fine." And that's kind of where they wrap up there. Am I right?
Yeah.
So yes, we're in Arendir. He's gone into the tunnels. Brownwood has gone back home to warn the village, and she goes to the bar. They keep showing this man.
Yeah, I guess he's like a bartender or something.
No, there's a different man who doesn't speak. Like you see, he showed his face a couple times, and when we were watching him, I was like, he looks like somebody. And I knew who he was at the time, and now I can't remember what. I have to watch it again to remember who I thought this person I thought he looked like, but like you can see him listening. But anyway, she goes and says, the village down the way is burnt down. They're orcs. We need to fucking leave. And the bartender, I guess it's like a surrogate mayor too, or whatever. He's like, no, I don't believe you. Like, we're not leaving. Like, the elf said it's good. They're gone. We're good. So, Brownwood goes back to her house. And
they had already dug up a tunnel and like pretty much.
Well, Theo's got that sword at the house.
Yeah.
And they hear this rumbling underneath the floorboards, and a fucking orc pops up from.
Well, by the time she gets there, though, he's already hiding.
Who?
And the floor's already busted.
Oh, yeah.
Her son.
But she kills the orc.
She does, but yeah.
She cuts his head
hides, and then they pretty much tag team, and yeah. But it's like this long, drawn out thing.
Yeah, she kills the orc. She takes the head of the orc, she cuts his head off, takes it back to the bartender and says, "Do you believe me now?" Basically. And this is where they show that guy again, like they kind of zoom in on his face. So they all pack up and leave, basically. They're going to leave the town. And I don't remember what happened to Arendir. I think he's just in the tunnels now.
Yeah, but he got to a point and he was watching something, and then something came up behind him and grabbed him.
Oh, yeah. But that stuff all happens. I think the meat of episode 2 is Elrond's story. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Because we go back to Elrond in the little forest kingdom of the elves, and the king tells him that he has a job for him, and he wants him to meet Celebrimbor, another elf living in another town that looks like Minas Tirith in the books and the movies, but he's a elven smith, and he wants some help with building the biggest forge ever created. And Elrond's there with him in the city. He's looking over the plans. He's like, I don't know how to help you with this, but I know someone who can. Mm-hmm. And they go to the mountains of Khazad-dûm, which I don't want to look it up, but that name is familiar. I think this might be where Mount Doom is at in the actual Lord of the Rings books. But he goes there, and it's a dwarven mining colony in the mountain. He takes Celebrimbor. It's just them two. They go up to the door and they knock, and Elrond's like, I meet my friend Prince Doran. Like, we've been friends for a long time. Like, he can give me some help. And the dwarf won't let him in. Who's at the door? Mm-hmm. And then Elrond says some type of, like, he enacts the...
I think of what it was said.
It's some type of...
Some kind of challenge.
Challenge to the prince of, like, how many rocks they can break or something like that.
Yeah.
And the dwarf has to let him in. So, they let him in. There's all these big sweeping shots of the mine. It looks very pretty and, like, very complicated. Mm-hmm. And, like, they've dug deep into that mountain. Mm-hmm. But they get into a tiny little room. They're surrounded by elves. It's like Fight Club, or not elves, but dwarves. And they basically hit rocks for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, they take turns and hit rocks.
Yeah, it's him and Prince Doran, or I guess King Doran. They call him King Doran, but he has a father who's still alive. It's weird. I'm gonna call him Prince Doran.
I think it's Prince Doran.
But yes, they keep hitting rocks. And until Elrond can't, his hammer breaks. His
hammer breaks, but then they give him another one.
He gives up.
He gives up.
I think he could have kept going.
I think he could have kept going too.
I think he gave up on purpose. But
yeah, he probably wanted to let Prince Doran win.
Yes. So that means basically he's like banished from the mountain, like he lost. Mm-hmm. But he gets escorted out by Prince Doran, mm-hmm. and they are talking. And
basically, Prince Doran is upset.
He's pissed, but we don't know why yet. But Elrond's trying to give him his sales pitch of this forge, and you're the only one who can help. Or he's like, he just listen to me, And Prince Doran's like, okay, we'll come back to my house, but you're not staying for dinner, and you're not meeting my wife, and you're not meeting my kids. Mm-hmm. We'll talk business. And so they go back to Prince Doran's house. And of course, he meets the wife. He meets the kids. And they stay for dinner. And I think the interaction between the wife... What's her name? Okay, it is Prince Doran. Disa is her name. Disa and Doran, I think, are funny. Mm-hmm. They're going back and forth. And we find out that... What's the reason Doran's angry?
It's because they were friends, and then Elrond was not there during all the important parts of his life, which was getting married, the birth of his kids, and I guess Elrond just ghosted him, and then he's showing his face back up, and he's like pissed, man, like it's not okay.
Yeah, it's been like 20-something years. I can't remember how many years it's been. Elrond's like, I'm sorry, like these type of relationships are hard, I guess, because that was nothing to me. It was absolutely nothing to me that amount of time.
Yeah, because the elves live such a long, long time.
They live forever, basically. Unless they get stabbed or something. But we also see, I don't know if this is going to be important later on, but I don't know, it felt important at the time, I don't know, but Prince Doran has been growing a tree in his house. and it's from a seed, I guess, that Elrond gave him. And it was like, the only reason I think it's important is because they make it clear that, or Disa says, everyone said it wasn't going to grow here. Everyone said it wasn't. Like, it was I guess it's a tree from the Undying Lands. Everyone, they told him it was a fool's errand to try to grow this tree in this mountain, but it was fucking growing. But you could see it's like, it was getting sun, like it was in the middle of a...
I don't think it had anything to do with the sun. I think it had to do with the love in the home and like other things that it's...
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention that.
And needed to grow.
Yes.
But it also was a sign that Prince Doran did think a lot of Elrond, even though he was mad at him because, he's planting this tree. And she said it was pretty much like the third kid.
Yeah, even though Doran is mad at him, you could tell that they've been friends for a long time. They've seen some shit together. And Elrond basically tells them about the forge. And
so then Prince Doran goes and talks to his dad, who is the king, about it.
Who's got very long white hair.
Yeah.
He's basically hair and a nose, and that's it. And they agreed to it. Or did we get that
I can't remember if they agreed to it or not.
Well, I'm going to assume that.
I'm assuming that they will if they haven't yet, somehow, some way.
So, yeah, that was the end of episode 2. That's how it ends, basically. What'd you think?
I liked it.
What was your favorite part?
Probably the Elrond Doran story in that one. And then I think the Galadriel, or whatever her name is kind of my favorite character.
I like it when Bronwyn killed that orc and she came back and just stuck the head on the fucking bar table and said, fucking believe me now. And also, I guess, we do see Theo leave. And he has a sword too, doesn't he? He leaves with the sword.
Yeah, because they're packing up and going somewhere.
Yeah, you see a big long line of humans like on a hill leaving. I don't know where they're going. But we have to... So we have episode 3 coming up. That's supposed to debut on September 9th, which is Friday.
One interesting thing about him leaving with the sword, though, is he was bleeding a little bit, and then the sword was like pulling the blood down his arm.
It seemed to be growing too, like the sword seemed to be like reforming somehow.
Yeah, and I guess that was one of the things. It definitely grew.
Yeah.
I don't know if it grew to full capacity, but it grew.
Yeah, it was a very dark scene, so it's kind of hard to tell. In my memory, my shot memory should be believed, but yeah. So episode 3 debuts on September 9th. That's Friday.
Oh, so we can't even watch that?
No, they only did the first 2. This Wikipedia article only goes up to 8 episodes. I'm not sure if that's accurate. Okay. Of how many number of episodes it's going to be. We don't even know the name of the episodes or who wrote them. So, or at least Wikipedia doesn't. But we basically have to figure out the fate of Arondir. Is that his name? These names are gonna be all over the place.
Yeah.
What is his name?
Arondir sounds good. I don't know if that's right.
Arondir. We have to find out what happened to him in the tunnel. We have to find out where Bronwyn and the rest of the humans are going. Oh yeah, this is a kind of a big thing that we missed. The ending of Galadriel's story in this episode, her and Halbrand, they run into a ship. A fully functioning ship, and they see a person looking down at them, but you can't see them because there's just a shadow. They got the sun behind them, basically, and they just look like a shadow just looking down. So I guess they're getting rescued or been captured or whatever is going to happen to them.
Yep, who knows if it's a friend or foe.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll see Durin meets Celebrimbor, and figure out I believe that forge is going to be the one they use to make the rings. The one ring to rule them all. Dun dun dun. So what do you think? Are you ready for next Friday?
Yep.
Are we going to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to review that one too?
Well, we can't because we have plans.
We can still watch it.
Yeah.
We could watch it like Saturday morning or something. Unless you're busy.
I have to work.
Well, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
We'll get it watched and we'll get it reviewed.
We will.
Hopefully we won't have to wait. I don't want to wait 48 hours again. But maybe this time will be easier because we'll only have to remember what happened in one episode, not two.
Right.
Because these two episodes definitely did blend together for me.
And for me.
And it was I think it was well done because the each story moment kind of ended it kind of like a little cliffhanger of like what's going to happen to this person. What's going to happen, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
That's how they keep you going.
Yeah, when you get to the next person, you're like, okay, well, I got to stick around and see what happened to my boy over here, and then it's just a cycle, which is I think that's just good writing 101, I guess. I don't know. I'm not an expert in these things. So what do you think? Set one Cathy's Watchcast in the books for Rings of Power.
Yep.
What would you give it?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? I give it 11 out of a potato. So,
What?
say goodbye, Cathy Brown.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, let's get all the dogs in because they're freaking out.